Quack. 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 12 and... Ow! My name is Adam Chimeo.
And I'm Aaron Schroeder.
That is right, and this is the Quack 12 podcast, the most official, unofficial, Oregon Duck sporting podcast on the web footosphere. And Aaron, we're talking about another win. Kind of boring win, but kind of great win.
Well, okay. First off.
Okay.
Should we place bets on when Hythloday will say garbage time began?
Damn, dude. I mean, honestly, garbage time was probably happening in the second quarter. I think we ended that first quarter, did we have 24 points in the first quarter?
Something like that.
Like, somewhere in the second. Probably midway through the second or something. Yeah.
Also, I would say, relatively boring game, but didn't we get to see a lot of Ty Thompson time?
Yeah, we got to see some Ty Thompson. I mean, we even got
some
Austin
backups.
Novosad. Yeah, that was truly the most exciting part, is how much backups we got. I mean, we got a lot of touchdowns. That's always good. Also, Duck fans showed up and stayed for so much of it. Like Hythloday over at Hythloday1 on Twitter posted a really good post, basically just showing, looking around, shout during that, third to fourth quarter. And it was bumping. It was bumping for a game that we were just destroying them in. And that's a good sign. That's also a sign that us playing against Colorado, it is going to be lit. It is going to be insane.
Dude,
that game's going to be so fun.
Party. Yeah, it's going to be the party of all parties.
Absolutely. But before we get into some Duck news, let's click on this button here. In honor of Hawaii, let's just look at that beautiful logo again.
Oh.
They were a wonderful team to play against. They're not good. Just straight up going to say that. But they got a coach that can rally behind. Hopefully down the line, they can be a Mountain West, powerhouse, or even a Pac-12 powerhouse if they just somehow get in that league. Who knows? It's possible. Boring game, but it's a win, so it's wonderful. Aaron, let's go straight into news that is just so freaking Quack 12. I had to get into it.
Okay.
And that is some website by the name of Forbes. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah.
So credible. Forbes is funny because I think of them as very legit, but then the only times I ever see an article from them is when they're doing something that's very clickbaity. Like, like, what are the finances of Westeros in the Game of Thrones universe? How much is a credit in Star Wars really worth? Those are the only articles. It's about $350.
Okay. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
This is something they've done with Pickwise is a program they use, okay? And apparently, so they just went around. I think they talked to 3,000 football fans, which for me, I'm like, I need more information. Like, were these just 3,000 football fans that answered your poll? Did you specifically go for state by state? I don't know what. So take this for a big grain of salt. But the results definitely make sense. That very much the leader of everything, well, I shouldn't say that, but the leader in who smokes the most pot out of all college football is the Oregon Ducks fan base. And it makes sense. As we're saying this, listeners, you don't know, maybe you heard a little pop there. Aaron is actually lighting up a joint right now. And we are also drinking coffee, so maybe that...
No, I'm having tea. I'm a tea boy.
Oh, you're T-boy now. Interesting.
I made the switch when I realized that China is going to be the new world force, so I figured I might as well start getting used to the customs. I've been trying a bunch of different Chinese herbal teas. I want to understand how to properly boil water before the new reign begins, so that way they will like me.
I like it.
They will find me useful in the workforce.
To all of our listeners and fans from China, welcome. We thank you. And go Ducks. I wish I knew how to say that in Chinese. Go Ducks. Yeah, so that's cool. I don't know how credible that is, but just the looking around, the eye game, the eye test. Yeah, we smoke a lot of weed. I'm looking at you smoking weed right now. And you can watch us smoke weed on YouTube right now. Quack 12 Podcast, you can.
Here's the thing, is that...
What's the thing?
It seems obvious that Eugene, Oregon...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one thing I learned from playing shows there 15 years ago was, oh yeah, it's just weed farms everywhere out here.
Yeah, basically. Basically. Get it.
That's the one takeaway I had.
That's why you moved to the Northwest from you were a good old boy in Texas, and then you came to Northwest and got your mind blown. Supposedly, this is cool. Again, I'm like not sure where this is all coming from, but apparently Oregon State is the most LGBTQ, just straight up the most LGBTQ fans at Oregon State. Again, wouldn't have guessed that at our Corvallis, Oregon, but I'll take this poll's word. So that's very fun. I don't know if that changes anything for us. It'd be cool if Dan Lanning, he had that.
These are all in. This is just a bunch of random polls that Forbes took.
I guess. I don't know what they're doing over at Forbes. Like, they should be getting back to work. I'll say it. Yeah. Speaking of work, getting to work, the WNBA playoffs are going off right now. Sabrina Ionescu hit 7 threes in game 1. I thank you. She's already got the record for most threes in a regular season, so it's just absolutely bonkers. Satu Sabally got 32 points. That is right, 32 points in her game 1. And, this recording, we're recording on Tuesday morning, 4 p.m. this very day. New York Liberty takes on Washington Mystics. Hopefully they can knock them out. We're a big Liberty fan. Liberty, 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 Liberty. Not a sponsor, could be. Yeah, so Sabrina Ionescu's absolutely killing it. You gotta love it. Aaron, there are still 8, count them, Pac-12 teams, not teens. There's probably some teens on these teams. In the AP polls, number 5, USC, which is pretty cool. Number 8, Washington, both staying strong. Oregon, number 10. We are a top 10 team now, which is very
really
cool. That's right. We jumped over Utah, which sunk down a little bit, but still number 11, Utah. Number 14, Oregon State, also very cool. Number 19, Colorado. They fell down 1 spot. Then we've got number 21, Washington State, 2 went up, and number 22, UCLA. I have not watched much Wazoo, but I'm getting more and more afraid of them.
Really?
They have not played great teams, but they've looked pretty good doing it. I'll tell you that much.
Where was Washington again?
Number 8, I do believe.
Pretty amazing. I saw a TikTok that said that they're going to be the surprise attack that might go the full distance this year.
I mean, I hate to give them any credit.
Right.
Their fucking offense is legit. And what they just did to Michigan State was pretty scary as a Duck fan. I'll give you this spoiler at least, man. So Michigan State, they had all that terrible stuff with their coach, which definitely played into it that they were playing without a coach. And even if he was there, I think this team is just so not very good right now that I think Washington still would have blown them apart. Maybe not as bad. But, Aaron, I think, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I think it was like 42 or 40 or something like that to nothing. It's something around there at halftime. Wow. Washington went in there and didn't just pick them apart through offense, also just humiliated them on defense. They got like 1 touchdown like in the 4th quarter.
Wow.
Washington was putting in their backup quarterback and stuff like that. Like, Michael Penix just had a hell of a game. And all the stuff, like, even there was a moment where there was, like, the Michigan State defensive
the
back,
one guy was there.
He got out there. He was so pissed. He's like, I'll do it. He like blocked a ball, like tipped a ball. The ball like goes off of his fingertips, which is like, hey, that's a good play. Goes into a wide receiver for Washington's hands, and he takes it all the way for like 40-yard touchdown. Like everything was going wrong their way, but also Michigan State is bad. But impressive thing to do on the road, unfortunately. I was watching some NFL. Justin Herbert had a hell of a game in a loss. That is his curse in NFL. Where
that's what happens when you get picked early.
No joke, ain't it? Ain't it, man? That is.
Thibodeau is sitting, working so
Giants.
hard on the other coast, working so hard.
Now Saquon's hurt. He's gonna have to carry the ball himself. Christian Gonzalez, who transferred to Oregon from Colorado, had one great season, then went to the NFL. He is playing for the Patriots and is doing fucking great. He was covering Tyreek Hill like give me a metaphor. You're from Texas. You should be good.
White on rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm.
He was like white on. Wow. I asked the right guy. Oh my God. He was covering him like white on rice, like on a paper plate in a snowstorm.
Yep.
Not quite. I can't pull the Texas off as well as you can. But yeah, that was great. Isn't this great?
Well, I hate to do a callback to last week's episode, but I'm fairly certain that's yet another one of my favorite quotes from the movie Major Payne.
I guess we got to cover it at this point. We've talked about it.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
Oh, by the way,
I love Damon Wayans.
He's great. Is he your favorite Wayans brother?
I mean, I grew up watching him, and he was always the most fun on In Living Color.
See, I
love David Allen. So Wayans, I would say, Damon Wayans. Damon Wayans is my favorite Wayans.
Dag is almost an honorary Wayans brother, is what it feels like, right? I love David Allen Greer. I don't know why, but ever since I was a very little kid, I was like, I didn't even watch Living Color growing up. But I was just like, David Allen Greer, I love him.
Dude, he's so good. I mean,
he is.
Totally subverted, but also like something about the movie Blank Man just resonated. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
I wonder why that one YouTuber was shocked to find out you weren't black. I wonder why.
I don't know.
Have
you ever seen Meteor Man?
I have seen Meteor Man. I mean, you're an old man close to death. I'm a young boy, just at the cusp of
just getting
my
started,
boyhood,
as they say.
Yeah, of puberty. But so I'm a little more used to like Marlon Wayans,
Sure.
I'm used to like
scary movie franchise,
Little Big Man, White Chicks. I mean, I'm more of a scary movie fan, honestly. Those. Are my favorite.
Right, because was he in How High?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways,
that was Movie Corner.
That was Movie Corner, where we,
get completely off track.
At Quack12 Podcast is where you can find us on Twitter. It's also where I put up this poll, because I wanted to know. We had so many Duck fans smoking weed, apparently. All you potheads throwing your life away. I put up this poll. A poll for Duck fans. Will you be high for the Oregon-Hawaii game? Now, 63% of you said yes.
Hell yeah!
And 36% of you said yeah.
Yep.
So interesting results there. So 100%. All of you were high, and I do believe it.
I'm for it.
I'm for it too.
Watching the game, the one thing that really resonated to me, seeing how many Duck fans were there.
Yeah.
Was holy shit. Hawaii is the game on everyone's schedule that also acts as a week-long vacation.
I guess, yeah. Well, I mean, they played for us, so it was like, hopefully I don't know, hopefully they enjoyed Eugene. I would love to go to Hawaii. Would be amazing. Maybe not.
Wait, were we not in Hawaii for that game?
That was in Autzen the entire time.
I am sitting there, not lying. I am watching that whole game going, Damn, it is incredible how many fans went to Hawaii for this game.
Listeners.
And then was like, crazy, they're doing the song between the third and fourth quarter.
This is the part
Hawaii
of the podcast.
Must be just down to clown today, I guess.
Sometimes we don't have to bring it up. Sometimes Aaron says enough stuff where you're like, oh no, he's on it. This is the part where we bring up the shtick. You see, I care too much about the Oregon Ducks. Aaron loves the team, but is about 10 steps behind. He's not,
Look, y'all are taking 2 steps forwards. I'm taking 1 step back.
Every show, I swear to God, 1 step back. But we love him for it, and he's why we sound so good on these episodes.
That used to be true as well, but now it's also a lie.
Don't pull that curtain. No,
yeah.
He looks good. If you see him on YouTube, it looks
hey,
like
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. That's about all the news I got. Yeah. Aaron. So much good Duck stuff going. Well, let's do a quick plug here. First of all, if you'd like to help us out, why don't you go over to Patreon? For a measly $5, you will get hundreds of hours of entertainment for this, all about the Duck football, including our Quack and Time series, in which we go into every single year and talk about the football that happened starting in 1894. We got Duck D&D going on there. Got some movie reviews, including the Prefontaine biopic. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm going to make you guess. But we're going to cover the other one, too, because it's too funny not to. And please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
Or we'll never talk to you again. And follow us on YouTube. We recently surpassed 69 followers. It was a feel-good moment, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. And check us out on TikTok.
And TikTok-y, we're putting
the Aaron Out of Contexts are about to start season 2. Season 2 is coming.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful program. I watch it all the time. Yeah, the Oregon-Hawaii game, just a few more minutes on that, but it was just about as good as you could want. I mean, there was a few times Bo Nix wasn't connect. Like, he, missed like 2 or 3 deep shots by a little bit. But
yeah, he overthrew.
And Troy Franklin a couple times, and Tess Johnson. And I think in like a huge game, little moments like that, yes, could matter. Whereas like if you missed what could have been a solid touchdown, but he seems to be, he also made a few great throws and overall did really fantastic. We're just nitpicking at this point.
I would say, some of those deep shots seemed unnecessary. And so, therefore, I feel like they were probably let's just run this thing we've been working on anyways and see if we can't dial it in against a team where we don't actually have to worry about that pass defense.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably a play that has failed in practice, and because some of those were huge.
Well, I think I think it's just, our average plays is just that's the deep option. And if it's open, you hit him. And a lot of times Bo Nix would have nailed those. And he was so close to getting those. I think it was just a bit of nerves. We've seen him connect on those deep shots. And a big part of this offense clearly is like even taking those shots sets you up for like, well, now they really got to focus on that. They got to have a couple safeties further back, which means they can't be in the tackle box as much, which will help the run game, help, the short crossers. Like, it'll help everything to open it up like that. And you may get an awesome deep touchdown. I think that's what was going on. It was nice to see Ty Thompson have some really well-placed throws. Had a good game.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the part that I liked the most. Is like, there's obviously a difference on the field. You can see, I mean, the first thing I didn't even realize it was Ty Thompson at first until I saw a couple of plays and I went, oh, this is a different person.
Yeah. To be fair, you thought it was in Hawaii too.
Yeah.
we gotta get you to Austin one day. Well, that will be our biggest episode ever. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved watching Ty perform because I at least started feeling like, okay, well, as long as he can keep seeing some amount of minutes on the fields every few weeks or whatever, I wouldn't be so concerned if all of a sudden we need to rely on him more.
I agree.
For any kind of random reason. Also, when Bo Nix is wearing his helmet, does he kind of look like a football version of Maverick from Top Gun to you?
I'll say yes. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'll say yes.
Or maybe he had more of an Iceman look. I don't really... But
as long as
every time... I mean, he had just such a... You know, he looked like a 90s football player. You know what I mean? Where they're just like a little bit more like lean and mean looking.
I don't quite... I like your vibe. I'm responding to what the way you're saying it, not necessarily what you're saying.
There was a time period in the 90s when there was like this whole weird push for this gridiron deal where like they had like I can't remember what it was, but it was some kind of gridiron deal where they made all the players look like and he just kind of had that look where it's just like, damn, this is like a hardcore looking dude when he's kind of intimidating looking.
He is. He's our QB, man.
Yeah.
I love the look he always gives to people. Gives to Tez Johnson, his brother, because again, that was I believe the first touchdown in this game, and they're always just so stoked. It's wonderful to see.
Okay.
Can I tell you something really quick? First of
Sure.
all, this is something we never covered. That ever since it's happened, we've wanted to talk about it really quick because we got to bring Hythloday on. Some kid got his ear freaking ripped off during the Oregon-Portland State game.
Right.
Because he was stuck in his helmet, and his helmet got ripped off, his fucking ear came out. So we got to talk about that. I mean, that's about it. That's all I got to say. But I also want to tell you this. This made me feel good. For the Portland State Vikings, who we beat 81-0, right? Then they played Wyoming. It was a closer battle, but Wyoming took care of them too. I was really wanting Portland State to get a big dominant win, because that was 2 straight losses that they were supposed to lose. They played against the North American University. Never heard of it. It's in Texas. I know that.
North American University is in the southern part of America. Got it.
Yeah, they're called the North American Stallions. So again, who the hell are they? I have no idea. This is their first game of the season, but Portland State beat them 91-0. So fuck yeah, Vikings.
Wow.
I hope the guy with one ear got a sack return, for a touchdown.
Oh boy. Man, talk about a weird season to have as a player.
Oh, yeah. That's nuts.
You just live in extremes.
Speaking of extreme, Aaron, you know how I've been plugging a commercial over and over and over? It's like, hey, guys, I got a commercial I'm making, and then it just never comes up.
Well, I know that you've often said, I'm still working on the commercial.
Well, guess what? I'm about to play it.
Oh,
get ready for y'all. I got a new commercial. You're gonna love it. Here we go. Well, Aaron, hate to say it, but the time machine is broken.
I mean, this whole thing was running off the power of your cell phone, and obviously when we hit 1894, there's no longer cell service or Wi-Fi connection, so...
Not gonna lie, I did not think this through.
God almighty, Adam, what are we supposed to do now?
I mean, we're in Eugene, Oregon in 1894. We could check out the very first duck game. Maybe it's a good thing.
No, it's not good. Look, we've already been here for about 5 days, and the very first thing I learned living in Eugene, Oregon, is that shows have been banned that are quote-unquote unchaste and demoralizing. And that's kind of the only kind of content we know how to make, dude.
We could review every duck season as it happens.
Even the children here are freaky.
Then post it on the Quack 12 Patreon in the future.
I mean, it's just really hard to not spoil, tragic national events.
Imagine it, a weekly show dedicated to Oregon football history with two charismatic time-traveling stoner hosts.
We live in the most expensive house in Eugene, and it's a fucking shack.
And the most beautiful thing about it, we can charge them a measly $5 in the future. And when we get it in the past, we'll be freaking millionaires comparatively. And I'm talking robber baron status, baby.
Adam, I make bugs fight in a shoebox just to simulate television.
All listeners would have to do is go to patreon.com/quack12 and sign up for hundreds of hours of duck entertainment.
But the hooch is good. In fact, it's kind of got me wanting to try my own hand at it.
That's right. For a measly $5 a month, that's patreon.com/quack12. Now let's go watch them lemon yellows give those hay seeds what for.
And keep your eye out for Dr. Schroeder's blueberry wine.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Quack 12 podcast. Any YouTube watchers are just seeing my face and not seeing Aaron because Aaron had some very important business to attend to. We'll leave it at that. We were drinking coffee earlier. That's probably enough of a hint. I think you can all put it together. He will be back in studio very shortly. But until then, we'll get someone who knows a little bit more about college football and the Ducks than even Aaron Schroeder. That is right, Hythloday of Addicted to Quack. How you doing, Hythloday?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good because we beat Hawaii with basically no problems, no resistance, no injuries that I saw. People came back from injury even. We got deep into Ty Thompson time and just it felt like the old days where it's like, oh, good, we get to see, like we get the practice, the second, the third stringers get the vital practice ahead of time. Felt like the Chip Kelly era again. That Oregon-Hawaii game was everything I wanted out of it, is what I'll say. How about you?
I mean, it was a satisfying game to watch, certainly. It was interesting compared to, Portland State, the other, non-competitive game that they played. Hawaii definitely put up more of a fight in the sense that, their defense is just better, is, one of the things that I talked about, and definitely noticed when I was studying their film was just it's a disciplined defense. It's well filled out. Nice. Obviously there's talent limitations, but I gotta say, compared to a lot of the Pac-12 teams that I study that are they've got some hot shots, but they've also, it's a lot of Pac-12 teams that I studied are up and down. It's spiky, it's a real weak player here, it's a real strong player there, and then they try to compensate for that by having the real strong players play super aggressive, and the other players are basically might as well not be on the field. And then Hawaii's not like that. It's real steady Eddie across the board, And so I just appreciate watching a disciplined, silent, sound, football team. You're talking about low 3 stars across the board, and so Oregon just overwhelmed them, but at the same time, A, I like watching a disciplined defense, and B, it provides a good test, for Oregon, not to be too condescending or to treat them utilitarian. They're human beings, and I hope they enjoyed playing the football game, but it provides a good test for Oregon, how the offensive line performed and so forth. And that's the other interesting thing is that, one of the things that we observed about, that we knew coming into the season was that they were, had to make changes to their offensive line. I noticed in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks as well, that the pass protection from the offensive line has been excellent. I was basically zero breakdowns in pass protection. But the run blocking, you can see the talent, but like there's been some technique, like that's sort of expected, but it's not unexpected. Yes. But like, yeah, I want to see it sort of improve, and it has been improving. Like and Hawaii was a good test for that because of sort of the nature of their defense and its consistency and its discipline, and the fact that they play assignment sound football. And then sort of a bit of a wrinkle that they added was that that I wasn't expecting, but which they did, which is their linebackers were firing, like really firing. They were like guessing where the run gap was going to be and then attacking it like immediately. They were not waiting for the read. They were going immediately, which like on a couple of plays gave them an advantage. Although on like more plays, that worked to Oregon's advantage because it's like, well, that wasn't the right gap, dude. And so then Oregon sort of dealt with that, and Oregon got sort of like a bigger play. But
good practice, because if they're guessing right, which eventually they will if you're just guessing, then it's like, okay, you're practicing against someone who's like, they made a perfect read. What can you do against this?
Right, exactly. And also, if they're getting the wrong read, but he's doing something unexpected, like, deal with that, bro. So all of those sort of things, that was nice to see the offensive line deal with. And like, look, man, like Oregon had like 10 yards per play, prior to garbage time. Like they only, prior to garbage time, I think they only ran, it was like 27 plays prior to garbage time. It was like 31-0 after 5 drives.
So would you say is that like, what is that, like late second quarter, mid second quarter?
I forget. It was 3 minutes into the second quarter. It was like 12 minutes left in the second quarter.
Aaron would be glad to hear you say that, because he was saying before you hopped on, actually, he was like, where do you think Hythloday is going to say garbage time started? I said somewhere in the second quarter, definitely. Like by third, it was. Yeah.
I mean, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it was 31-0 with 12 minutes remaining. It's just like 31-0. You ain't coming back from that, right? Mm-hmm. Even though, like, from like the qualitative, like just looking at their postures and like how hard they're playing, like I don't really think that Hawaii like quit in this game, and I don't really think that Oregon like started treating the game like a joke either. But it's just like, look, at a certain point, the score has just become uncatchable, and it's not worth charting anymore. And that's what happened in this game. And both teams had 5 possessions, and it's like that's enough. But it's like within those, 27 snaps, only 12 of them were designed runs. Of those, like 5 of them gained 10 plus yards. And the 6th was didn't gain 10 yards because it was a 3-yard touchdown run. So it didn't have 10 yards to gain. So like, the offensive line, like one of the things, when watching Portland State, the game against Portland State is like, they had a whole bunch of big runs, but like I was kind of like, when doing the film study, like I even put a couple lines in my article, it's just like, look, I know this sounds weird to complain about on a 52-yard touchdown run, but the blocking on this play is a mess. Like, Bucky Irving gets a touchdown on this because like he's doing Bucky Irving stuff. Like, and so, it was actually kind of nice watching this film where it was just like, oh, they're getting like a 27-yard touchdown run on this one. First of all, because they were only 27 yards away. Like it would have been a 52-yard run if they were 52 yards away. And second of all, like because they earned it, because the blocking was there, that was, that wasn't like Jordan James having to pull a magic, rabbit out of his hat. That was because like, oh yeah, that was how that, that gap scheme was supposed to go. And like, so this was in many ways like more gratifying, film in that way. And there are other examples as well. Read my article. The way that they were doing, manipulating the defensive substitution rules about, how they sub in a third backer instead of a nickel back. And so Oregon was using heavy sets, like 12 or 13 personnel, more like 2/3 of the time. Like it was, I said 27 snaps, 18 of them are with 2 or 3 tight ends, and only 9 of them were with just 1 tight end, which is like, that's on its head. That's like flipped around. And I think the reason is because Hawaii's like has very strict personnel substitution rules, and they always put in a third backer. A lot of teams that do substitution like that, they're like, well, hold on though, it's 3rd and 10. It's going to be a passing play. We can get away. We should have our nickel configuration, even though they have 2 tight ends. It's still going to be a passing play. Not Hawaii. Hawaii will go with the third backer, and Oregon knows this because they did film study, and so they're like, well, okay, we'll put in 12. You'll put in a backer. We'll pass the ball, and we'll have an advantage because you don't have sort of the lighter, DB in. Yeah. And so, like, I put it, some examples in the article, and there are other examples too. Like, for example, they have that sweep run with Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq is like really, like, right now he's much. I think he'll eventually bulk up and play more like a tight end, but right now he's like a skinny guy. He's more like a wide receiver. But you know what? It says tight end on the roster, and so they put in their third backer, and so what Oregon runs to the outside with him, and the backer can't keep up. It's like so those are like manipulating their substitution rules, and so that that was fun. And then, oh boy, the other thing. How about I'm talking about the offense? The offense isn't interesting. What's interesting was the defense. Oh my god, Yeah. Like, I was all over a bunch of podcasts, not just this one, like telling Oregon fans, hey, look, man, the only knife that Hawaii has in the drawer is their deep shot passing, because they can't run the ball. They can't even do efficiency passing because the offensive line doesn't hold up in protection. Like, all they can do is hit these deep shots, but watch out for, Pefele Ashlock, because he's been catching like 40-yard passes every game this year, like multiple 40-yard passes. Like, and Hawaii's just going to go at it because they're aggressive, appropriately aggressive, and I like their team culture. Like, they don't quit. Like, they were going after Stanford hard. They were going after Vanderbilt hard. Like, man, they're going to throw this ball over and over and over again deep, and eventually they're going to hit it. And so, like, don't freak out, Oregon fans. You're going to give up 1 or 2, and then Oregon, they didn't give up any. The longest play of the game for Hawaii, of the entire game, including garbage time, was 15 yards.
Yeah.
Which is like, that didn't even happen in 2022. In all 13 games that Hawaii played in 2022, including their game against Michigan, right? Like, wow. Michigan that went to the playoffs, Michigan. Every single game, they had at least a 20-yard play. And I don't just mean like a screen pass that gained 20 yards because, like, I broke a tackler, whatever. I mean, like, went through the air 20 yards because I watched all that 2022 film, remember? Like, anyway, like, yeah. Like, they put the ball through the air, not Oregon. Oregon had to shut down. Like, and it's a combination of they were blitzing a lot. Like, they were bringing extra rushers because they knew that Hawaii was going to throw the ball on like a 3-1 basis. And number 2 is they just had them locked down. Like, they really did. They had in particular, they had Ashlock and Perry and McBride, like, just completely locked down.
So are you seeing any particular kind of like battles in the secondary that are intriguing you for like playing?
You mean
time?
Between Oregon secondary players?
Yeah.
Right now, the way their configuration works is, well, I think that Triquez Bridges got dinged up a bit. I didn't really see him in this game. I don't know if that's the result, however, of a battle that he might have lost, or just they were resting him. So I don't know the answer to that question. But right now, it appears that on one side of the field, that Kyrie Jackson has a starting spot, and on the other outside corner, they're going back and forth between Dante Manning, number 8, and Jaleel Florence, number 6, which is interesting because let me finish the discussion. And then they are as the nickel corner. They're playing Nico Reed, number 25, which is actually surprised me a bit. Remember when we were at the spring game and I kept elbowing you and pointing at Cole Martin because he was like the safety nickel? No, they've been doing a corner nickel, and that's been Nico Reed, which, like, I didn't see coming, but I probably should have. Anyway, my bad. Anyway, Nico Reed has been their nickel corner. Here's the interesting thing. usually when you have a position that's rotating between two corners and the other outside corner is like one guy, it's because the one guy is your lockdown corner and the other one is the like, oh, he's the one who's getting attacked, and so we're going back and forth between two guys because I'm not sure which one is the better two. That's not how it's been going with Hawaii and Texas Tech. Teams have been attacking Kyrie Jackson. I mean, but he's been always the guy on his side. Teams have not been attacking like at all the other side of the field that's been going back and forth between Florence and Manning. So it's like, I don't know what that's about. Like that's kind of, it's like, well, hold on. If they're not attacking Florence and they're not attacking Manning, why don't you just put Florence and Manning on the field at the same time and take Jackson off? Like, I don't know, man. Like I'm probably reading too much into that. It's just,
So penalties are obviously something we're gonna circle in like Texas Tech, and then I think there was 9 against Hawaii. A lot of them with the starters in still. Is there anything you got besides just like hopefully they stop making as many mistakes, and if they do they'll be better, and if they don't then they may let some teams into games where maybe they wouldn't have been in otherwise.
I don't really have. I mean, I guess they didn't really happen during meaningful play, so I didn't really watch them. Like as soon as I finished up with the not garbage time film, I stopped watching and moved on to watching Colorado film. Sorry.
See, my stance is when the Oregon game's on, I don't second screen, I don't flip over. This was a really hard one to do. For.
I did the same thing because the football gods will punish you if you flip off the Oregon game. Like I know, but I was watching them live. I don't know. I didn't feel like the penalty like the roughing the passer that sustained one of their drives, pissed me off. Although frankly it pissed me off because I know. Yeah. Although frankly that one pissed me off because I didn't really think it. Like I don't really think I kind of hate those roughing the passer flags. Frankly, like I kind of think that's weenie stuff. But whatever. At the risk of sounding like an old crusty football fan who's like, everybody should emerge from football games with bloody nose and broken thumbs.
Yeah.
Like
that was a clean hit on Travis Hunter. That's just football. No,
that wasn't. That's not true. That was not.
No, I know.
No, but look, I don't have anything intelligent to say about penalties. I don't commit penalties. Like
I think that's
penalties will set you back.
Dan Lanning did have a quote where he said, basically was being like, if you can't not make, if you keep making penalties, you're not going to get playing time. And I was wondering, I'm like, who is he talking to in that?
Yeah.
Because we're not.
Yeah, he's not pulling
Josh Connerly
off the field. Yeah, it's just like no, he's not.
Yeah, like I think he looked pissed when Daunting Manning, I believe, got like a defensive pass interference. But I'm like, yeah, but. That's the only person I could think where maybe he would have some.
Yeah, no, bite. I took that one about as seriously as Dan Lanning dancing. Like, the shout survived somehow.
He's got to, he's just got to shake it up a little bit.
I guess so. Yeah, you got to make those threats if you're a coach. You got to get the bulletin board stuff. Aaron, do you have any questions on Hawaii? You get one.
Nope.
Aaron, Fair enough. Absolutely. Go Rainbow Warriors. We love you so much.
Hey, Oregon is scheduled to play a week 0 game at Hawaii next year.
Hell yeah.
Because Oregon's going to do the 13-game thing. Assuming it survives, they are going to the Big Ten next year. I hope the schedule doesn't get shook up. But, they're currently slated to play Hawaii again, Texas Tech again, Idaho and Boise State. So, I've been gathering up all this film, but they have, replay games against both Hawaii and Texas Tech. So after both of these last 2 weeks, it's like, okay, Oregon, beat both of these teams, but I'm going to be keeping tabs on them for the rest of the year to sort of see how this goes. I'm actually genuinely very curious and and like sort of rooting for Hawaii because like remember I did that 2021 project on Alik Terry because Oregon's offensive line coach Alik Terry was Hawaii's offensive line coach in 2021 under Todd Graham, which was that whole mess, and then Timmy Chang took over in 2022 and is still their coach now, and it's like night and day difference and like the team culture and like how hard they're playing. Like I really dig it, man. Like I really just like those guys are playing so much better, and like he just like gets that team, man. Like of course he does. He's a program legend, and like and I'm just totally rooting for, and like everything that I was saying about like how it was a pleasure to watch their defense because it's just and like that's a long time defensive coach for them, DC Yoro, like he survived the Todd Graham purge, and like so I'm rooting for him too, him and Coach Chang both, and so it's like I'm totally rooting for like go Bows. I hope they win the Mountain West, and I'm sure they'll be great hosts when Oregon comes in week 0 for 2024.
Hell yeah, love Hawaii, love them. They may be my like second favorite team in freaking college football right now.
Hey, great
honestly.
Colors. When else do you get to watch a team in green, right?
There you go. I mean, I watched one team in green lose to the Huskies. Hopefully, that's all I got to see. Here we go. Let's get into these tasty picks.
Ooh,
the picks. Now we were pretty ambitious last week, and partially rewarded for that as well. There's a little teaser for you, Aaron. But we'll get into the results as we make our picks. Here we go. First, though, this is a sad game. Number 21 Wazoo versus number 14 Oregon State. The only real Pac-12 matchup here. Pac-2 matchup, I should say. It's unfortunate that it's happening week 1 in Pac-12 play because you wanted both of these teams to like continue their undefeated status.
Sure.
And I hope whoever loses stays in the top 25 because it's pretty freaking cool to have 8 Pac-12 teams, to have this like record number of Pac-12 teams in the top 25 in the year that we're dying. But so this should be a fun game. Number 21 Wazoo has been lighting it up against some not great. Well, actually, so like Colorado State, I believe that was a week 0. No, it was a week 1 game.
It was week 1, but they changed up their like quarterback. And like obviously the new quarterback is way better than the dude that Wazoo played, so
clearly. And that was a weird game where it's like Cam Ward had a lot of like bad moments, but then Wazoo's defense would step up, and then he also had some great moments, which has been the Cam Ward experience so far. And they also beat Wisconsin, as we know, which Wisconsin is not a powerhouse right now, but that's still an impressive, you beat Wisconsin. That's cool.
Wisconsin sort of wants to attack you the same way that Oregon State wants to attack you, so that's kind of a relevant game.
Yeah, and then Oregon State against San Diego State, which, Aaron, you did pick San Diego State. Didn't work out wonderfully. But, like, that game was, like, DJU, he is an improvement on from their last quarterback, but he is not necessarily looking like someone who's going to, like, drag Oregon State into wins where they weren't going to win. Yeah.
Like, that. Did you actually watch that?
Yeah.
Oregon State, San Diego? Like,
there were so many just terrible quite a few terrible passes from DJU. Just like
they had
so many open.
They had so many opportunities to walk away with that game that like it was like Oregon State kept refusing to win that game or like win it clean. It's just like it could have been like a 50 to 9 blowout, and instead it was like it's like 12-2 for like this entire game. Like
no joke. And I keep hearing about this Oregon State defense, but I'm like, if we had Oregon State's schedule, our defense would be putting up pretty freaking good numbers too, but these would also be blowouts. Oregon State's still a very good team. I'm still afraid to play them at the end of the season, but it is like, I think there is something to be said that they're playing at home for all these games and that they're not pulling away by more. Yeah. This is definitely Wazoo's toughest test, I think, so far this season. Number 14 Oregon State, though, it's crazy they've gotten that much goodwill towards them, but they're already up at 14. Aaron, this is a good one. This is a challenging one. Who you got? You got the Beavs? You got the Cougs?
I got to keep it in the state. I'm going with the Beavs.
Yeah, I didn't know what state. I mean, you're currently in Washington, so I didn't really know where you're going there. But in the state of Oregon,
yeah,
I love it. You're going Beavs. I think there is enough offensive firepower for Wazoo to score enough that it's going to come down to Oregon State's offense to really answer. And I don't think I have enough faith in them to keep up with Wazoo. So I do think that Wazoo is going to get this one, especially in Pullman. I think that plays a huge part in this, which is an awesome start for Washington State. That'd be so cool. Either way, it'll be really fun for the winner of this. And I would imagine Oregon State staying in the top 25 even if they lose, as long as it's competitive. I'm going with Wazoo. Yeah, even though I've watched them probably the least because I watched like a lot of the second half of Colorado State, which was garbage time. I've watched only so much of the Wisconsin game, and then their last one against the University of North Colorado.
Both of these teams haven't really played like games that are super appealing. Like I totally understand not being like real familiar with either of these teams because like kind of let's admit it, like both of these teams are kind of in the top 25 because they won 3 games against teams that are like not great teams. Like,
yeah. Who do you got, Hythloday?
Man, this one's tough. It's really tough. I'm gonna go with Oregon State.
Yes.
I think the best aspect of either of these two teams is Oregon State's run game. And that's ultimately what I'm going with. The analytics like Oregon State, but I think a lot of the analytics kind of have last season baked into them at this point, and I think like Oregon State lost a lot of the defensive components that's playing off of, so like I don't feel great about that. Las Vegas likes Oregon State by 2.5 points on the road, which means that they really think that they're like a 5-point better team, which is okay.
Something made me feel like Oregon State was gonna win it by a field goal.
I think that Wazoo's best defensive aspect is their defensive edges, which is really better at shutting down the passing game. But I don't really think that that's super relevant against Oregon State, because they just want to run the ball at you. So like I kind of think that's less relevant. So that's, it's not a point for Oregon State, but it's like it makes Wazoo's best defensive element less relevant. I'm still not sold on Cam Ward. I'm just really not. But on the other hand, I'm not sold on DJ Uiagalelei either. Oh man, this is really tough. I guess I'll put it this way. I'm just really not sold on either one of these teams.
Yeah.
And so, I really could see this game. Honestly, here's what's going to happen. One of these teams is going to miss a field goal. And all the arguments, this is going to be a field goal game, and one of these teams is going to miss a field goal. Or one of these teams is going to fumble on the goal line, or it's going to be one of those games like that. And all the arguments that we're going to make about you should favor them by a field goal, this other team by a field goal, it's all going to go by the wayside because on one dumb mistake that's worth 3 points is going to happen that is completely unpredictable. This
game shall be decided by a safety.
Ooh, okay. I like that. In that case, I think Beavers win it, but we'll see. I'm going with Wazoo as well. Up next,
as well, you're the only one who's going with
Wazoo. You're the only one. I feel
That's
like the game for me has changed to where I'm just trying to pick the one that I think Hythloday will pick.
Yeah, which is against the whole thing. Yeah, last week you straight up asked Hythloday who we wanted to pick and then went with that one. That's bullshit, my man. Okay. Number 11 Utah versus number 22 UCLA. It's mind-blowing that we're seeing ranked on ranked in Pac-12 week 1.
If there's any game that's harder to pick than the last one, it's this one.
Yeah. Utah, I mean, I don't know. They did well in the last one. Nate Johnson got the start, I do believe. Played a bunch of it. I only watched 2-3 drives of that game. I forget what else I was watching. But number 11, Utah. That 11 out of all of these seems maybe the most fraudulent ranking. I mean, if Cam Rising and Brant Keithy were back, maybe I would. I've not heard anything on that.
Okay.
Still out. They're not playing that last one. If they were going to play, this would be a big one to play, but I have no idea. Against number 22 UCLA, Dante Moore did very well in that last game against that team that, again,
North Carolina Central.
That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot
Chip
it
Kelly
last
put
time.
up his biggest margin of victory ever against an FCS team.
Well, there you go. That must surely mean that they're the number 22 team in the country.
I mean, honestly, like trumpeting that Chip Kelly didn't blow it to an FCS team is logical.
Yeah. There you go. This is in Salt Lake City. I think that's going to play a big part. Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Fox.
Oh yeah, you better believe they're getting up for it too.
And I think their fans are going to be freaking crazy.
The Rice Eccles is 100% the best factor that Utah has going for them. I mean, it ain't their quarterback, it ain't their tight end, it ain't their offensive coordinator. Like,
it was nice that Florida beat Tennessee. That's got to feel good for Utah.
Oh, yeah.
fans.
I mean, that's the other thing that makes all of this crazy is that they played a joke opponent in week 1 that was, like, completely out of sorts and ridiculous. And then, due to, like, swamp voodoo magic, that, because Tennessee always loses in the swamp, like they haven't won since, like, 1993 or whatever it is, in the swamp, like, now that win is going to look way better. Yeah.
Which is very fun. I didn't think Florida had it in them.
I mean, nobody ever does right up until Tennessee always face plants in the swamp hilariously. Like,
I love it.
I mean, to the point where there's a fight at the end of the game because Tennessee called a completely pointless timeout on the kneel down, and like there's like a Florida lineman who's squaring up like a boxer. Just like the most like ridiculous stuff happens in that game. Yeah, and it all redounds to Utah looking better than they probably are.
It reminded me, I saw a TikTok of this Lions fan talking about the Seahawks game and him just flipping out. She's like, why do we always lose to this team? Why can't we beat this team? Number 11 Utah versus number 22 UCLA. We got the young freshman Dante Moore doing great things down there after taking a little while to get the start. Aaron, who do you got here? This is a tough one.
I feel like we're at the beginning of the Utes' downfall. So therefore I must go with I just don't see I guess UCLA is going to win.
You going with UCLA?
I
want to go with UCLA. A part of me goes, well, this is Utah. This is Salt Lake City. But if Brant Keithy and Cam Rising aren't playing, I have seen enough of the Utah offense to give me second thoughts on it. I will go with the underdog. I'm going with UCLA, and I'm already regretting it. But this one is really just throw it out there.
Do you want to
switch? You want to switch
I'll
picks?
Switch. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go with Utah. You go with UCLA.
No, you already go with Utes.
Oh, you want to go with Utes? Well, now that you're picking Utes, I'll stick with UCLA. That's right. Because I want to get some separation between you and me. Hythloday, do you have a guess in this one?
I'm going to go with UCLA. There's less uncertainty with UCLA at this point in terms of who's going to be playing. Like, I think that Kelly has stopped doing stupid stuff with his quarterbacks. And simply because he doesn't have stupid choices to make, he doesn't have choices to make, and so he can't make stupid choices. At the rest of his positions, he won't make stupid choices at the rest of his positions. Like, we know who he's going to play at running back and wide receivers and his line because he doesn't have any choices to screw up. Whereas Utah, it's not just Rising, who even if Rising comes back for this game, like he won't have played, like he's going to be super rusty, like he won't have practiced or anything. Like I don't think you can count on him to just like instantly step in and be, transformative figure.
Especially if a big part of Cam Rising is like, and then he's able to be mobile when he needs to be. It's like, well,
right. Yeah, precisely. And like same story with Keithy, Vele, who's like their only receiver worth a damn, like also like is questionable for this game because he got dinged up in their last game. They're having an offensive line issue. Their run game has not been as dominant as it should have been. All things considered, like considering that they've been having a quarterback problem and they're like they should have been able to lean on their run game. They haven't been able to lean on the run game. Now, part of that, I suppose, is that one of the running backs, unfortunately, Mekhi Bernard, is lost for the season, which sucks. Like that really sucks. But like their running back room is so big with so many good players, that shouldn't have been an issue. Like it's other factors. And so like I'm just not feeling Utah. What gives me pause is I still think their defense is pretty good. I still think that it's really hard to play him in Rice Eccles. And I still I don't really believe in UCLA's defense. UCLA has not been tested against any serious team, whatsoever. And I sort of think that almost everything that they do might be a big fat illusion and that Utah might just smash them, with just sort of Utah stuff. Like everything that I said about how Utah has problems, all of those were sort of problems that they had last year, and they would still take more talented teams than they are that were, a bit of a fraud and smash them because they would do Utah stuff to them and sort of so even though I just picked UCLA due to uncertainty factors, there's a part of me that's there's going to be sort of a Rice Eccles smashing going on. I don't know, man. Yeah,
this is
UCLA, but don't be surprised if Utah doesn't just win this by 17 and UCLA is what happened? With roadkill skid marks all over them.
Mm-hmm. It would be nice for UCLA to win this because again, UCLA would Utah would stay in the top 25 if they lost. That's kind of the ultimate goal for me. Stanford versus Arizona. Okay, I believe two of us picked Sac State. One of us picked Stanford. I don't quite remember which one was which. Maybe it was one of I don't know. There's no way to look it up. But we do got to point out that y'all did pick Sac State, and it's wonderful that we got at least one of these FCS upsets. We'll get into the other one a while, but I did not watch any of this game because it was all during the Oregon game. Hith, did you catch any of the Sac State?
Oh yeah. Oh no,
upset?
I had it on and
okay.
I mean, I got four screens, man. It was hilarious. It was funny when I was setting up the Reddit Pac-12 pick'em. The other moderator contacted me and was like, "Oh, hey, dude, I think you had a typo in the spreads that you set up. You had Sac State favored against Stanford," and I was like, "I know what I'm about, son."
That is right. So was this a competitive game? Did Sac State steal this,
it was competitive. I mean, it was back and forth, but no, Sac State was a better team.
Nice.
They won because they were better. Not crazy better, not ran them out of the building better, but it wasn't they stole it. It wasn't a bunch of special teams mistakes and crazy. No, it was they just consistently edged them. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, honestly. And then Arizona beat UTEP, which is something you should do unless you're truly one of the worst teams in the FBS, which they are probably not. I would imagine Heat's going a little, or more people are picking Arizona in this one, just so you know, Aaron. Even though it's on the farm, that kind of means absolutely nothing. It means there'll be less Arizona fans there than if they were playing Tucson.
Sure.
And Arizona's had technically more success, but have looked pretty fraudulent, but have only lost one game against Mississippi State. Did go to overtime, though. Jaden Delora is doing some good things, some weirdly selfish things, too. Not a great guy in real life. Aaron, do you have a hot one here? We know you love Stanford. You going with them?
Who does he play for?
He plays for Arizona.
Well, then I'm going with Stanford.
Really? Why is that?
Yep.
Because
you said he's maybe not a good guy in real life, so why would I want to support that asshole?
Yeah, well, plenty of bad people win football games. Ever heard of Ben
They're
Roethlisberger?
mostly.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's a great point. So maybe betting on the bad guy is the good idea.
Oh, boy.
But I think I'm going to go with Stanford. I think Stanford could win this, but it's probably going to be Arizona.
This actually is kind of like the perfect Pac-12 spot for Stanford to like. It would be a very Pac-12 thing to happen for Stanford to win this game.
Yeah, it's also like if it's kind of a crucial game for them just to get one in the win column because it is going to get harder. And, like Hawaii was like, they did win the Hawaii game, but it was a competition. They just lost to Sac State. It's like, how low is this Stanford team going to go this season? And I think it's going to be low enough that they lose to Arizona. So I'm absolutely going with Arizona.
I am also going with Arizona.
Dang it.
Word. Yeah, I mean, Saturday, 4 p.m., Pac-12. This is the other thing. It's like, if you're a Pac-12 fan, you should still watch the other game that's going on at 4 p.m. I believe that's Oregon State, Washington State. Watch that. I mean, double screen it, I guess, but there's probably a different game that deserves your second screen over this one, too. There could be some
this
funny
would be the second
stuff.
screen game.
I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't waste my time. For us, it's good to keep an eye on the Pac-12, but
I mean,
it's gonna be
I gotta watch it because this is the
the
game that Oregon's playing in Week 5. So
yeah, so I guess you should watch this game.
I mean, I'm not gonna watch it live because I got to do film study on it.
There you go. Those are two teams that exist. Arizona State versus number 5 USC, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. on Fox. This seems more like a Pac-12 network game is what I would do personally. But, Aaron, Arizona State is bad.
Right.
Fresno State just blew them out the building. And that was
for
like
the first time since the 80s.
Yeah, like Arizona State is going through some things. My only takeaway really so far from this season is I like Southern Utah University, and Oklahoma State must be complete garbage that game was even only 2 scores.
Oklahoma State is kind of complete garbage.
Well, of course you got to hold on to Mike Gundy because he's such a good guy himself too, for some reason. Arizona State is bad. Number 5 USC. I mean, their offense is still very much legit. They're number 5 for a reason.
Hey, hold up. It's not quite that Arizona State is terrible. It's that their quarterback was a late scratch, and or actually he just wasn't practicing. He was injured earlier in the week. He wasn't practicing at all, but they didn't tell us about it until about like an hour before the game, and they replaced him with Drew Pine, who
of Notre Dame,
my God,
formerly, right?
Yeah, like the dude who you've probably seen a video of Tommy Reese screaming at him on the phone, and then Drew Pine on the other end of the telephone looks exactly like a puppy who knocked over the kitchen trash can and is like, oh. Anyway, I cannot believe the video is real. It looks like something out of a cartoon. Anyway, that Drew Pine. So on 2 separate occasions, he gets sacked and gives up a fumble. He was just like, he had whatever the opposite of pocket presence is, like negative pocket presence. It was so bad. And Fresno State's a good team. I remember I said that in the offseason. Yes, Arizona State is not a good team this year. It's not because they're bad. They just they ran into a bad situation without their quarterback and against a good team that's Fresno State's probably going to win the Mountain West this year. Unless Hawaii stops them, go Bows. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I honestly, I saw the Southern Utah University game, and I know there was a whole bunch that went on with that, but I right there made my decision. This team is as bad as you can get, and I'm excited to see which Pac-12 team loses to them, because it's Stanford, Arizona. I don't know. Maybe I think they'll be like one, but they're not. They can't even go to a bowl game, so maybe motivation's a little weird there, but. I mean, they weren't going to a bowl game regardless. Number 5, USC is just it's gonna be bad. They're gonna score a whole lot of points. Aaron, would you like to choose the underdog here, though? Would you like to go with the Sun Devils?
Nope, I'm gonna go with USC, sir.
Ah, damn it. So am I. Hith, should I write you in for ASU?
No, I'll take USC.
Interesting. After that. Number 8, Washington at Cal, 7:30 p.m. ESPN. Now, we all were so hyped for Idaho. And Aaron, Idaho got to a 17-0 lead on Cal. And it was not a fluke. It really looked like they were doing it. And I couldn't have been happier. I mean, Cal was favored by like 15.5 points or something like that. So I was on top of the world. Unfortunately, Cal did rally back. They did win the game.
They really rallied. I mean, it was like a 31-0, run. I can't explain it either because, like, at the end of the second half, I needed that screen for some other stuff, and so I didn't watch the second half at all. Like, I can't explain what happened. But I mean, it's what should have happened.
Yeah.
Like Cal shouldn't have been in that hole against an FCS team, but like.
It's funny. It's a bad situation when year 7 into a coach, you're like, oh, wow, they really rallied back against that FCS team. Yeah. I don't know how that happened. Like, you shouldn't be in that spot.
I mean, just looking at the box score, the answer is that Idaho was at no point able to run, and but in the first half they were able to pass, and then Cal sort of figured out how to stop them from passing. And also Cal wasn't able to convert like fourth downs, but then they started being able to convert fourth. Really, it was sort of like it's the story of fourth downs is sort of what the box score is painting. Like Idaho was winning their fourth downs, in terms of they were converting and they were stopping Cal from converting in the first part of the game, and then that story flipped in the second part of the game. Cal was winning fourth downs and stopping Idaho on fourth downs. But like the fact that teams were on fourth down is bad for Cal. Like.
And it was very funny because, like, sometimes when you have a spicy take, I like to put it on YouTube, just that clip, And so this was definitely one because I was feeling very confident about it. And it's funny the amount of Cal fans that had bookmarked that and then came back to, like, quote unquote, like, kind of slam us of just like, ha! We beat Idaho. You didn't lose to. It's like, congrats, I guess. Like, you still didn't cover but against that FCS team, but yeah, you really nailed us to the wall there.
4.6 yards per pass for Cal. Like,
it's rough. Number 8, Washington. I mean, we're an Oregon podcast, but I do got to give them credit. And obviously, Michigan State was going through so much bullshit, but it was going to be a beatdown whether Mel Tucker was there or not. They looked abysmal on offense. Washington got a bunch of, some luck on their side too, but just Michael Penix just picked them apart. And they really have the mentality of just go deep. I mean, we're going for it every single time. We are throwing not that he was chucking it only deep. He was going with whatever they were giving him, but whatever they were giving him was working every time. It was a tough one to stomach, I bet, if you're a Michigan State fan. They're looking like a really good team. Aaron, who are you going with? 8 Washington or Tibbleton? Yeah, I think we all are. Is it all right if I speak for you on that one, Hith?
I mean, Washington will definitely win the game. Now, if you're picking against the spread's 21.5, which, like,
wow.
you should hammer Cal. Like, this game is like Cal
usually weird.
Always, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'll be like a 3-point win for Washington. They'll be sweating bullets. Like,
if you see a thunderstorm, you know what's happening.
Here's the thing. The really like. Washington's going through a lot of offensive line injuries that really suck. They lost guard Memolar in the offseason. It turned one of their guards, who's not very good, Julius Bulow, got dinged up in this game. They lost their starting center, Matteo Mele, who's also not really very good, who was himself a replacement for Miles Morau, who was their dedicated center, who then Scott Huff never played because, I don't know, maybe he was never very good. But he transferred out, before the season. And, so they had to move Parker Brailsford, who's like, I think a redshirt freshman, who's never played. He had to come in for Bulow. They had to slide him over to play center. They're starting to get really, really thin up the center, up the middle. Like they only have one backup left, who like the other backups that they have are tackles. And that's Hatchett. Hatchett's been on the team for 4 years and he's never played like a single snap. Which probably indicates he sucks. Which is like, this is Scott Huff. Like, he doesn't know how to manage this unit at all. And like, he recruits a bunch of dudes who are like 4 stars, but who are terrible.
Love that.
Anyway, like there's a strong possibility that Cal's defensive line, now that they have like Brett Johnson back, like that's what I'm going to be watching. I'm not saying that Cal's going to win this game. I am saying that Cal's going to keep it close, but that's just because like historically Cal always keeps flipping game close. But what I'm actually going to be watching this game for, like actually like riveted to my TV screen, like watching for, is how the interior Cal's line matches up, defensive line matches up against the interior Cal Washington's offensive line, because like that's how you shut down Washington's offense. Is like you can't get around their edges fast enough because like Penix just gets the ball out of his hand too quick because they're predetermined runaway routes. But like if you stove in the middle of the line and dump the interior guards into his lap, like there's no outlet for him. And like that's starting to be what the situation for their offensive line is looking like. And Cal with Brett Johnson like might be exactly the team to do that to him, because they play a 3-4 and actually might have the personnel this year to actually do it. So that might actually be worth watching.
How interesting.
I will honestly be pissed if Washington loses this game, because like even if they lose to Cal, that still doesn't mean anything of them, like against them. So it's like, no, I just want you ranked as high as possible. Plus it'll hurt them more, like their spirit, if they're ranked number 4 when we beat them in Seattle.
I'm just saying, like, spoiler alert for my like Washington preview article, which is going to come out after the bye. Like both Oregon and Washington have a bye before they play in week 7. And like, I'm gonna have a whole week, and like this is the film. Yeah, like this is the film that I'm gonna be watching, because like all of their opponents up until this point have been jokes. Like,
even the one that was supposed to be, like you said, they caught Michigan State at a pretty weird week.
Caught them with their pants down.
No joke. And actually, we got back-to-back buys, because we play Stanford and then we get the bye week, so that's cool. And then the final one, I don't know why I haven't had the Oregon picks up here, because then I always forget them. Then we forget to talk about the Oregon Ducks on the Oregon Duck podcast. But we got number 10 Oregon versus number 19 Colorado. Wanted to end this on the biggest game by far. I mean, the hype couldn't be better. Saturday, 12:30 p.m. ABC. Aaron, the Colorado State game, which was supposed to be lopsided because all we knew about Colorado State was they lost to Wazoo really badly, and then they didn't play in week 2. Holy cow. That game was hideous in a whole lot of ways. It was ugly. Coach Prime kept saying it's personal now because Norvell, their coach, said something like, I was raised to have respect. You take off your sunglasses and your hat when you talk to a man. And then so Dion's like, I took that personally, basically. And so there was a lot of that going on. And then there was a really bad hit to Travis Hunter, their star two-way player. He gets it was a really bad one. It got Shedeur Sanders really into it. The other Sanders brother actually returned. He got a pick 6 early on, but then the game really stalled. Colorado State's defense really showed up. Colorado's line play on both sides has always been a problem and was a problem in this. However, Colorado and like Shedeur Sanders poked one of Colorado State's players in the fucking eyes. That was a little video clip going on. There was just in like the Buff fans, which showed up. I mean, there were so many rappers, like
Dude,
Lil Wayne.
The hype is strong over there.
Yeah, Lil Wayne rapped while they were coming out. But then it was silent in like the second and third quarters.
Oh,
but then
no.
They rallied back, ends up going to overtime.
Wow.
It was a crazy game that Colorado, for us, fortunately, ended up winning.
Oh,
they stormed to the field against Colorado State, which should be made fun of, but also I'm always someone where it's like, yeah, they're having fun. It's college football. Who gives a fuck? Like, Colorado's been fucking terrible. Let them celebrate. Travis Hunter.
Colorado fans get to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Like, they were in their 1-11 season, they were showing up. Like, they were, I mean, that's when I was, watching them last year when they like, I watched that Cal Colorado game where they beat, Cal and they rushed the field. It was like because the stadium was full for a winless team. Like the stadium was full for a winless team. And like, I think the same week or like a week or two prior was the UCLA Utah game, right? In the Rose Bowl, right? Like you're a UCLA fan who gets to play Utah, a team that goes on to win. It was the defending champs and goes on to win the again. And it's like, there's like 10 people in the stadium, a beautiful, day in Pasadena. And there's like 10 people in the stadium. And meanwhile, Colorado, winless team, and they whited it out too. Like they all coordinated, it's just like Colorado fans can do whatever they want. Like, I don't, yeah.
Exactly. Leave them alone. Guess what? They had a great time and they got to hang out
if you get
Colorado.
if you get Master P to show up, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
For real.
Exactly. I believe Travis Hunter had something with like maybe a cracked rib and a damaged liver.
Yeah, lacerated liver.
So bad.
It's one of these things. There was some criticism for Coach Sanders for playing him after that, but it's the kind of injury where it's like it's a gut shot and you don't really know that you're injured until the swelling starts to happen. And so it's like, no, it's also, there was like a lot of even like the player who did it. I mean, it was a bad hit. Yeah. He shouldn't have done that and they were penalized for it, but it's also like, that's football. Like it's,
Travis Hunter said actually on his podcast, which has been pretty interesting. He's a very interesting guy. He even said like, it's football. It happened. Like that was kind of his. He's like, I'll heal up and I'll be back, but he will not be here for this game. 2 to 3 weeks he's out at least.
Like it's bad.
Yeah, and he was like obviously one of their best players on both sides of the ball.
Wow.
It's kind of like, I mean, it sucks. Like it sucks on like 12 different dimensions. And I am like, of all the people to be upset about this, I'm like there's 7 billion people in line on planet Earth and I'm the last one in line. But here's where I am about being upset about it. Like I wrote about this in my preview article over the summer that like I didn't think that Coach, like even though I appreciated like a lot of the things that he did in the roster rebuild, like I thought that he left a couple of jobs undone or like incomplete jobs, and one of them was at outside receiver where he got Weaver number 10 but that he didn't get enough good other outside wide receivers, and that he going to be in this awkward position where he might be forced to play Travis Hunter more than he should, and that was a bad depth situation because what if he gets hurt? And then then he gets hurt, and it's like, so what? Like I feel bad about that because like, oh my god, I wrote what if he gets hurt and now I have to go write an article about that previews Colorado versus Oregon, in which, like, what do I am I supposed to like march up and down the streets parading like, look how smart I was, I predicted that a kid got hurt? Like, it's not a fun position for me to be in. Like,
just don't say "told you so." Just avoid that specific phrase. I feel pretty confident in this specifically because there's some weaknesses in Colorado that aren't even like secrets. I think a lot of people are like, well, the line play isn't exactly something you'd see out of a conference championship team. They're wonderful to root for, but I'm going with the Ducks. Aaron, how you feel?
Going with the Ducks, baby, all day.
I know you're a Buff fan, but also it's the Oregon Ducks. It's an Autzen. And in Hythloday, do you have a spicy take, or are you going with the Ducks here?
I'll pick the Ducks. Like, there's just too many. There's just too many flaws, and Oregon's just rolling too much.
Thank God.
I will detail 19. These flaws in my article on Friday morning. I'm not like a crazy Colorado hater. Like, I think there's a lot of excessive criticism for Colorado, and I think they do a lot of things very well and better than people think. I think there's a lot of like really smart ways that they exploit, like, for example, the way that like TCU got out of their broken 33 stack defense because they got pissed off at the way that that Colorado was exploiting it for like short gains. That was, anyway, I'll talk about it in my article. Like, Colorado is a smarter football team than you think they are. And like every time somebody says like, oh, these are a bunch of like, shuck and jive hucksters, like, you are playing exactly into the trap that they are setting. And shame on you for thinking that.
Plus, they're America's team. Let's be real.
That said, they also have, a bunch of clear deficiencies, because of course they did. Like, look at the size of the roster, rebuild that they had to do. Like, they were never gonna be able to 100% get that all, that project completed, and they haven't. And so whereas Oregon has a complete roster. So
I mean, Aaron, if we're the villains of the piece, this is the game we lose, just so you know. Okay. Or we'll win see. And then we meet them in the Pac-12 championship or something. Okay, I know we got to get done here, so let's look at the results. This is last week's results. I had a 1-point lead over Aaron. I have 16. Aaron has 15. Hith has a commanding lead of 20.
Not
and really. Hythloday did very well. He got 10 out of 11 on this next one, I'll tell you that. Just barely missed on the FCS school otherwise. But here we go.
Cal Idaho game.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I know. You almost got it.
The Vandals vandalizing my perfect game.
Yeah. As of right now, I have taken the lead over Aaron. 25 points. Aaron's got 23 points. Hythloday has 30 points. So that is where we're at right now in this season.
I'm coming back, baby.
Aaron's coming back strong. And that is the Great Pick'em Challenge, everybody. Once again, let us thank Hythloday. Go over to Addicted to Quack, read the duct tape articles, and read this next article coming up here, breaking down the buffs, because that's going to be an interesting one. We also look at this Quack 12 feed. Keep your eye on it, because we will have an interview with Jack Barsh. Maybe our final Colorado interview ever. It's sad to say, but I mean, basketball and such, you hope maybe we'll pump into them non-conference or something. But
could be a title game rematch.
Hey, there you go. That's fun. And then at Quack12 Podcast on Twitter, Quack12 Patreon. If you want a little bit more of this madness, Aaron, do you have a very specific take for our game against Colorado that you'd like to take us out on?
Dan Lanning and Master P will smoke a 1-ounce joint on the center field line, 50-yard line.
Okay, on the 50-yard line. So Master P, you'll be there again.
Yeah.
But on Oregon side. Oh, okay.
No. It's called
there.
It's like a treaty joint, It's like two people from opposing sides coming together to share the peace pipe to commemorate the game.
Like when we invite Gaby over and then we all smoke a fat blunt. As we do. Yeah.
We do.
Okay, my super specific prediction is that Oregon will have a commanding 24-0 lead before Colorado scores. That's a lot, but I have faith in these Ducks. Hythloday, anything crazy specific you'd like to take us out on?
I think Oregon will kick a field goal for their first score, and Duck fans will freak out.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that sounds so accurate.
Absolutely. So accurate, just like my man Camden Lewis. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week. Quack, quack.
Quack,
Go
quack.
Ducks.